investment, and you're vetoing that.
Yeah, well, rewarding investment, absolutely. That was the biggest problem with the DAO is investors. Absolutely. People that didn't understand what the hell the DAO was and put a bunch of money towards it is what created such a honeypot and a problem. Before the honeypot, before the hack even happened, it was a huge problem. Proposals. The best proposal had what, 4.57% votes, 20% that's needed for quorum. Speculative investors is nothing but a disservice to a DAO. What you need in a DAO are active members, contributing members.
Yeah,
right. Well,
I think
we're contradicting ourselves here. We put together a project and then we say now we need, how much money do we need? Okay, and where are we going to get that money? And what incentive are we going to provide for people to provide that money? Okay, if we want to be effective, we should never give a sucker an even break. And if they want to give us $1,000, fine, we'll take it. Okay, I don't see why we need to be selective about that, and why why they shouldn't get a reasonable reward on that based on the residual rewards that the Divvy token holders get.
Well, Jim, the reward I'm talking about here initially from the quote investor standpoint is someone who's willing to invest the money. And in this case, I'm saying, okay, they take dollars, convert to Bitcoin. The Bitcoin goes into a managed project fund, okay? And that supports that really basically backstops maybe that's the wrong term because you have that in any case it supports whatever projects the investor or the philanthropist has their expectation, okay, and so what I'm not understanding that Jeff is objecting to here is there's that relationship between that fund, let's call it, okay, the foundation fund, the project fund, and the compensation mechanism for projects, okay, which were, I'm saying, okay, it's Divvy tokens, which are not short-term convertible, or it's ETH, which is short-term convertible, okay? So my question here is, how does unhealthy speculation find its way into the system, okay? Because I think that's what you're worried about, right, Jeff?
Absolutely. If somebody is willing to put in $1 million or $1,000, they shouldn't expect anything out of it. But then again, if they want to put in $1,000 worth of work, then they should.
We're not going to get a lot of money that way. We're not going to get $100 million.
No, but you will earn about
$100 million.
You have the incentive to make those Divvy tokens worth more instead of just selling them when they are liquid.
Well,
I guess if we can get past you, we can get past Rush on this. Okay, you've watched the Tokenly videos and all that, right?
Well, whenever I hear Tokenly, I think Tokenly.com, and you always say that's not Tokenly. Oh no, I don't know what Tokenly is.
Well, let me just say this: in the giving community, which is it's a significant percentage of our gross national product. I mean, it's in the hundreds of billions per year. Money that's just people take out of their pocket and give to charitable organizations, and they're not doing it for speculation. The only thing they're doing is because they think it does things that meets their aspirations, right? Yeah. And that's all I'm talking about here. Okay, with regard to the tokens, which is the medium of exchange in projects, in getting projects done, there's the need for short-term compensation. Okay, what happens to those tokens when the deliverable has been accomplished? Those tokens go into all of the people who were doing tasks into their wallets.
Right. And
Okay. All right. So now then there's the question of convertibility from them. They, out of those tokens. Then there's the question of making a market in those tokens, right? I don't know what the answer to that is exactly, other than the fact that now you've created this market within a market. I mean, this isn't a whole lot different than sort of creating a community currency to, keep dollars from leaving the community or something, right? I mean, there's a lot of I'm trying to think what they call them. They tend to be communities of aging hippies, and who started this kind of stuff long before the internet. But I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm opening it up, but I still don't quite understand, Jeff, what your objection is to bringing money from outside to and to pay you to develop parts of the Divvy platform.
If there was a 501c corporation set up called Divvy Foundation or something, and people wanted to donate dollars to that, that's fine.
Okay.
Do charitable contributions. They're not expecting anything in return other than for that which that foundation was set up to do. That they expect them to do that.
Right.
They don't even check to see whether they did that. They just want to feel good about donating. And for that reason, like maybe 15% out of every dollar actually goes towards what the foundation's for, right? Now, I guess that's beside the point. If they're instead going to donate $1,000 to try to get a number of Divvy tokens, then that's great. But now, I guess some sort of ability to do that is fine, but I think it has to be limited. I think it has to be vetted somehow or limited somehow, so that you're not just taking in X amount of dollars and then saturating your organization with nothing but those dollars.
Think of it as each Divvy token pays for an hour of somebody's time. Okay, that's the value that it's contributed to the Divvy. Okay, right. So
and you start by saying that everybody's hour is equal.
Yeah, or let's say a minute, whatever. Okay, we don't have to even say that, but we're not saying how people will be paid on projects, because we don't know the level of people that are going to be needed to do it. And
Yeah, that could be a free market as well.
it has to be a free market, right?
Well, yeah, and you may have projects that are kind of hybrid between that are actually going out into the dollar marketplace and hiring resources, right, in order to get it done, because you may not have the expertise within the Divvy community.
Yeah, not everybody's going to accept ETH or Divvy tokens, whichever they choose.
That's right. That's
That,
right.
and there is a need for funds, obviously, because you need to pay for servers and
So here's a thought. Okay, what if every project returned a certain amount of Divvy tokens to the Divvy platform, the Divvy? In other words, like a percentage, 3% or something. and would that be a satisfactory way to build Divvy tokens into a viable market mechanism? I guess, I don't know.
Yeah,
along those lines.
My view is, that a Divvy that somebody buys and a Divvy that somebody earns are of equal value, and we're not really diluting anything by treating them as being equal. And when people accept Divvy tokens instead of ETH, then we have ETH that we can use how we want, regardless of what the intention of the donation was. And of course, that has to be by agreement with the Divvy. They're saying, we're going to give it $1 million to support this project, okay? And we have to accept that, because it may not be a project that we want to do. If they want to just buy and say, use it any way you want, fine, we'll take the money, okay? We'll take the donation, so to speak. Yeah. And we're giving a value back in terms of Divvy tokens, that we give them a feeling of ownership in the Divvy, okay? And we give them a stake in terms of conflict resolution. So, and a residual of the transactions among the Divvy compatible tokens.
How about, okay, I was discussing earlier a method for trustlessly handing out tokens to those who've earned them. What if the person that wanted to buy $1 million worth of Divvy tokens had to buy them from people who have earned them, and they weren't out of thin air?
That was a very interesting idea that I was thinking. Obviously, if they just buy existing Divvy token, they didn't provide us any funds to work with, so we can't pay people to do the project because they just bought Divvy tokens. But I was thinking that some percentage of the donation, maybe 10% of the donation, can go to redeem people's Divvy tokens. Give them so that we would have a limited amount of redemption capability, and basically a waiting line for people to get tokens for their Divvy based on donations.
How about, as tokens are generated, out of every 9 tokens which are generated, 1 is automatically generated, which the foundation owns, and then they can sell those also. So as people are earning tokens, the organization earns 10% as well. And then the foundation now sell those as they see fit, the same way that the individuals who earn them also see fit. Like, it's kind of like an overhead where we are the Divvy Foundation, and therefore anything you do on our platform, we earn a point too.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, here's the question. It's how do you underpin the organization so that it's guaranteed as an ongoing viable organization, okay? And the initial question is, do you need an amount of money to jumpstart it, okay? So you know, when I talk about that $1 million that someone understanding all of the conditions, right, of their giving that money, lets it go, and now it's under the control of, you know, the Divvy Foundation or whatever whatever entity there is, that is considered to be jump-starting the process. In other words, this organization is not going to be, you know, on permanent life support. This is jumpstart, and there's a point at which it either succeeds or it fails.
Yeah. Well, and on that same vein, where we'd only need a jump start, and you know, you never know when you're going to need another jump start, right? So during the interim between needing to have the organization liquidate, they could also use the extra tokens that they have to fund the projects that they believe in. As I think we're thinking about anyway. The main thing I'm going for here is the fact that everything is fair and impartial, to the point where newcomers don't come in and say, well, it's too bad we weren't those guys because they really made out.
Well, yes, I mean,
want those guys that were first responders to have more reward because they took more risk. But at the same,
yeah.
You don't want to just say, well, they also got $1 million, those guys, you know, or.
Here's what I would say about that. Okay, if that initial funding is deployed to build the platform to the point where it's self-sustaining, okay, and you, Jeff, are compensated because you're performing several different tasks with regard to the programming, the software, you know, the various platforms that need to be integrated to create the functionality and so forth. I have no problem with that. I want to see you appropriately compensated for doing that. And if somebody comes along, which, you know, there are always the naysayers, okay? And if somebody comes along and says, oh yeah, well, he was just setting it up so he could pay himself and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, the final question is, look at the value. Look at the value. How many people are using this? Okay. You know, for you to be on the payroll for 10 years with nothing to show for it would be a travesty. Right? For you to be on the payroll for 6 months and not have anything to show for it, well, you know, that's within the reasonable scope of what the deliverable is, right? If you fail to deliver 3 times in a row, your reputation goes down. And at some point, you're not even called on to be part of something. Okay, so I mean, here's one thing, and that's reputation. Okay, so I'd like to just add in here the question about reputation from the viewpoint of free trust. In other words, building reputation from the bottom up, and how that integrates here, because this is almost like a pilot for implementing some of the free trust elements, right? the reputation, you know, how can we model identity with regard to this, doing one of these projects? I mean, I think what we've been talking about is the way that we could get a chunk of money to jumpstart this thing, and, you know, so that any one of us who wanted to be full-time working on this, making a decent living, I mean a reasonable living, or at the very, very, very least, a maintenance income, okay, are able to do it. This is a major, major problem with all of this IT stuff that is sort of bottom-up stuff, is so many of the people are caught in this dilemma between putting food on the table and wanting to go full-time because this is their passion, right?
And, you know, and there's just so many things here. There's the bonuses and such. I mean, you know, Jeff let's say Jeff only made his manager's fee of $1,000 a month. So at the end of the year, he, you know, he made $12,000, but he put in essentially a full-time effort in the project. Well, we can't pay him less than 70,000 tokens for the year. So, you know, the bonus system and all that has to be worked out. But the, you know, the question or the issue here that has to be resolved one way or the other, when we go for funding, you know, will we be able to, you know, keep it simple, stupid, and provide Divvy tokens that represent a value of that's put into the Divvy, whose value depends on the value of the Divvy. You know, if we spend it well and do it wisely.
Whose value depends on what the Divvy delivered.
That's exactly right.
For that project, and if the project is the Divvy platform development project, okay, which is the first project, right?
Yeah,
and so be it.
And you know, and if it's successful, nobody's going to complain about us paying ourselves well, and we're going to own more than 1 million Divvies, you know, at the end of 5 or 10 years, whatever. That's going to, you know, dilute the 1 million that we issued Divvy for in the beginning. So, you know, we're building a system here that is a growth economy. It's not like Bitcoin, which has a fixed limit in terms of, you know, how many are going to be issued or whatever. Okay, by the value we create, we issue the coins, and how much.
That's right.
How much they're worth on the market is going to depend on that.
It's gross Divvy product. Okay, the value of the Divvy tokens is based on gross Divvy product. Okay, that
is the value proposition right there.
Yep. Yeah. And that's how I mean, look, you can get it, you know, the Federal Reserve, they claim that they are adjusting the money supply to represent the gross domestic product, right? But then they add all of these different manipulations and everything in there, you know, like issuing bonds, or buying bonds, you know, out of the mortgage bonds or bonds from banks or blah, 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 to increase the money supply to stimulate the economy. And at that point, the gross domestic, you know, the money supply based on GDP just went out the window because they don't have the discipline or the wherewithal to pull it all off the table, right? You know, what Greenspan called, you know, removing the punch when the party was just, you know, got going too hot and heavy, right? You know, I would say cross those issues when they come. You know, don't let it be an impediment to moving forward. There's always the human element. I mean, when you look at the so-called, I mean, the dilemma that the DAO is in now with regard to the forks, right? This is the moral issue, and it's human. I mean, the fact that the smart contract, that not enough effort went into configuring that smart contract, that was the human element. It's always going to be there. You can't get away from it.
Yeah, and you know, I really love Jeff's idea on, you know, they put in $10 and you give them 9 tokens and we take 1 as a management fee.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and,
yeah, I like that.
Okay.
But you can phase it out over time. If it, you know, in other words, if the Divvy platform and the whole, you know, the whole enterprise around it becomes self-sustaining, that's ultimately what you're looking for.
Well, the other thing, you know, taking a management fee, you know, if we get the $1 million, we get 100,000. Now we can actually use some of that money to buy Divvy tokens from members to give them a paycheck.
Yeah, or like a buyback program.
Right.
Now you're starting to sound like the Federal Reserve.
Well, in the interest of moving forward and possibly wrapping up what we've got going on here.
Yeah, yes.
Thumbs up.
Thank you, Jeff.
I need to start working on the actual tokens. So I need a few public keys from you guys so I can make a multi-sig wallet contract and just start making some tokens for us to mess around with. And what I want is to make this wallet contract owning you can't make an infinite supply from a multi-sig, but I want it to own like 1 billion tokens. Just make them out of thin air, and these are, I'm calling them 0.1 tokens. They're on testnet. They will never be worth anything. But when we come on our little spreadsheet document, I want to actually start sending those out so we can actually start feeling what that feels like.
Okay.
And
create some mock projects and things like that.
Yeah, and in the end, I want to mention, you know, there's been a lot of throwing around Ethereum, AMPs, Bitcoin terminology. So I want to bring it into an actual scope, which is actually where the Ethereum Foundation scenario LTD are going. Ethereum plans to move to the proof of stake Casper protocol in the future. It's undetermined, but let's say February, March, April next year. Mm-hmm. So the earliest possible time when Greg and the scenario team are going to be able to start running scenario on the Casper protocol is around then as well.
Right, except they're not using Ethereum.
Right, yeah, so at this point, we can use Solidity in Ethereum to test the functionality. And in the future, when Scenario does move to their protocol, the Solidity will still work, and the Scenario stuff will still work. So the actual scope of when actual Divvy tokens can be live is when this is, I don't know if they're going to be beta by then or whatever. Scenario will go around beta by then. So that's like 9 months out, let's say. Okay.
I think we can do it sooner than that. Okay, if there's standard
A lot
tokens,
of stuff sooner than that. Yes.
just standard tokens on Ethereum.
If we do standard tokens on Ethereum, we're gonna run into the same problem amps are in right now, where hey, we made amps on the Bitcoin blockchain, but we don't want to do our project on the Bitcoin blockchain. How do we do that? We'll run into that same problem.
Well, yeah, and our intention is interoperation. Okay, we're going to make them interoperable.
Yeah, that's
because we're still going to have lots of communities probably that don't go to scenario at all.
That's possible, but it brings the scope of the project. It expands it to now we're going to have to develop the oracleized solution that ties Ethereum with the scenario blockchain. Great project, definitely should be done, and we should definitely do it, but it should not be first stage. Testing things out on the Ethereum blockchain would be fine if, in the end, what we're going to do is make a burn program where you burn your tokens on Ethereum, and now you go get them in your Divvy blockchain. And so we would have like probably not the 000 wallet, but we'd come up with a wallet like 11111 that nobody actually owns a private key for, and we're watching for people to send their now worthless Divvy tokens to that contract, which makes them appear over in this other blockchain. So I just wanted to throw out that our time span here is a while. We do need to get test stuff in place, but moving forward too quickly could be a detriment to the project, not a help. So I need to start messing around on the testnet.
Yeah.
Start getting on the testnet.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. So in testing, okay, so we create a block of test Divvy tokens, right?
Yeah.
And but we could still start working on the platform model by creating a project with a goal and with tasks, okay? And so we would be awarding ourselves, or whoever, you talk about creating, starting this with a limited number of keys, which means that these tokens will be awarded to only certain people will have access to the tokens, right?
Yeah, the multi-sig wallet would have the tokens, and it would take 2 out of 3 signatures to send it out.
Okay, to award them or reward someone for having completed a task, right?
Yeah, any type of participation.
Okay, all right. So we have the ability to create the structure that's needed and the currency to basically fuel the structure.
Yeah, and we have the platform to start testing smart contracts, at least the Ethereum side smart contracts, and the scenario side.
Yeah, using Ethereum with the notion that we'll pivot to whatever scenario comes up with.
Yeah, because that's the ultimate. Scenario, well, tying scenario in is what's going to make DAO a true DAO, because Ethereum itself can do the DO part. The A part's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we do the scenario special K interface based on the alpha code with the alpha amps, essentially scenario becomes the oracle. Okay, we don't need another oracle. It can trade amps and ETH or whatever. Okay, in the user agent portion of it, you're in control of all the transfers.
I hadn't considered that, Jim. That's brilliant.
Well, do we want to? Are there some tasks that need to be assigned here? And I mean, how do we move forward? It sounds to me like Jeff has already tasked himself.
Yeah, I always try to figure out my own tensions, and I always try to commit to something before I leave a meeting. I was like, I'll commit to this.
Well, yeah. So I'm ready to work on implementing all of this. Okay. I started with the DAO document. I really now Jim has talked about, he needs to kind of add final concepts, right, Jim? But I have to tell you, I've jumped in on these types of documents over and over again now for the last 3 years. And in the beginning, I was very timid, but now, I mean, as I really learn the concepts and so forth, I have a lot of confidence that, I can edit something in a rational way that's not going to exclude anybody or step on someone's ideas and so forth. But I'm just going to reiterate it again. I mean, in these types of documents on Google Drive, you have to be constantly resolving and editing. Otherwise, the document just grinds to a halt because it's too cluttered up. Okay, so Jim, do you want to add a little bit on that? I mean, I'm ready to, that could be an area where I could really add some value between now and next Tuesday.
Yeah, I think improving the document is good, but we have to consider the purpose and audience of the documents, and I think we need 3 documents. Okay, I think we need the living document that we have now, which is a community collaboration, and I think we need two versions. We need one version for investors and one version for community members. Doug talked a lot about onboarding, and the present document isn't designed for either the investor or the community member coming in. So I think if you could focus on the investor document, Kendall, and if you could focus on the community document,
well, so are you saying, I mean, we could make copies of this document and morph them in that direction, is what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay, no, that's fine with me. I mean, that actually makes me a lot more comfortable. Now, so you're saying, okay, I'm calling I mean, this is the current state document, right?
Right.
But if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that this needs to be directed towards a generic or general Divvy case document, right?
This is for active participants to
Oh.
evolve the community.
Okay.
And to add their roles and their stuff within the community. That's the one place we have right now to do that.
Well, okay. So I mean, this is, you're saying that this really, it goes through an evolution that is basically ongoing, but happens at a much slower pace, just because of the nature of the interaction that it takes to get something done.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, it's the most inclusive. Let's put it that way.
it should be, you know, it should be comprehensive as possible, and you know, or point to other documents where it should. But it's it's good. You know, it's a collaborative document, and you know, the target is really ourselves. You know, so that we all are on the same page and we know the current state. Okay, it's not a packaged document for a particular purpose.
Let me ask you this, okay? I mean, let me screen share here just real quick, okay? Because I'm in the document, and I'll kind of explain, you know, my dilemma here. All right. So, you know, if you start, you know, if you start here and you go down, I mean, I've made comments, and I've made suggestions and so forth, and there's, you know, the document is getting so jammed up at this point that you know, number one, I put effort into it, but there's no resolution. Okay, so my point is that for real simple things like down here, you know, prevents gridlock. All right, if you look at these, you know, where we're in goals, right? So, you know, I'm thinking goals. All right, what do I add to this to turn that into a goal? All right, these are pretty simple things. I could resolve them myself, let's say in 3 days, if nobody comments or questions what it is. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, is how do you get out of having a dead document? I mean, I can't tell you how many documents we've got in Proven Secure that you know are 1-2 years old that you know just sort of ground to a halt. Okay, so you know there needs to be a way of resolving these things, and all I'm saying is it 3 days? Is it 5 days? You know, do I go in the document and I spent 2 hours or 3 hours in there on a Saturday, and then I just leave it, go away, walk away, and because I know that the time limit is, you know, up on Wednesday. So then I can plan my time and say, okay, well, if nobody's done it on Wednesday, then I'll go in there and I'll resolve these 10 or 12 items, okay? So that, you see what I'm saying? I mean, does that make sense?
Yes, and you know, right now, I guess just Jeff, Brent, or I need to accept the changes.
Well, okay, because you guys are the, yeah, I let me look at share here. So, well, this is, anyone with the link can comment. Yeah, it's the editing function. That's
okay. It looks like I didn't add anybody to this at all.
Well, I mean, this is, you're the owner, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can build in whatever functionality you want. I mean, you know,
That's just your link. Other people have different links.
oh, really?
Yeah, like if I have an edit link, so mine has who can edit. Like if Jim looked it on his screen, you'll see who can edit because he has an edit link.
Mine's still
Okay.
taking.
All right, I'll give back the share.
But yeah, I'm Google just granularly allows for different capabilities to get passed around. So since you can comment, you can share a commentable link, whereas Jim can edit, so he can share an editable link.
Yeah, well, no, I've used it, and if you have suggesting and editing, then you know, lots of times my style is that if I feel reasonably sure that it's not a big deal if I just edit this, right? And that relates to punctuation, 1 or 2 words, you know, then fine, I'll just go ahead and do it. And or I'll do it in suggesting, right? And then people can see what it is. So and then you've always got the comment mode, right? So I guess it's you know, the point here is that at some point the owner of the document may want to turn over those capabilities to certain people because there's a consensus that they're the ones who are best equipped to, you know, do whatever it is to the document, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but Jim, you're not there yet, so.
Yeah, this was created under scenario. So,
Okay.
So it has people who have permissions are all the scenario community leaders can edit this. So I didn't see that they did. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this document out of scenario, and I'm actually going to put it in my Divvy folder right now. I didn't want to mess it. Both I and Jeff created a Divvy file, so I renamed. How do I do this? Move this item.
Okay, so you're in other words, you're saying you're moving it so that you can have more control over the share discretion, basically.
Right. And,
okay. Could you, at the same time, could you make those? You were talking about 2 copies, right?
Well, I was talking about 2 other documents.
Right.
Okay. Our one audience is prospective communities who want to join the DAO or individuals. Okay.
Right.
And the other is investors.
Right. And are you assigning tasks here?
Well, yeah. I think already you volunteered to work on the investor one, and Jeff agreed to work on head up anyway.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is really a good exercise because it's going to see. I mean, I get a sense that, you know, Jeff has a different approach than I do, although I think they come together pretty well and, you know, with enough discussion. But yeah, I think that would be a very, very worthwhile way to do this. If you would do this, Jim, you know, make a copy, send it to me, okay? Send me the link.
Why don't you? Oh, I see. You want to put the copy into, you know, a Divvy folder, right?
I want to, yeah, I want to.
I'll make the 2 copies.
Okay, and so you're making a copy, you're putting it in a folder, you know, you're giving me edit function, right? And we can decide at some point when to pull other people into it. Is that how you're talking about it?
Yeah. You know, I'm not sure why you don't just make a copy, but.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know whether I could or not.
Yeah, you can make a copy of any document.
Huh. It's not, let me see. Let's see, click edit. No,
Yeah,
it's file, make a copy. Okay.
Okay, the current editors are Jim Whitescarver, Jeff Anthony, Katie Talley, and Gregory Whitescarver.
Huh.
Um,
Current editors.
the current editors of the document, and
So let me share screen here. Let me show you what I'm doing. Okay.
so I put Kendall, reality and design, right? I put in here.
No. Well, Kendall at Proven Secure. I mean, right?
Is that?
You know, no, it needs the Gmail account, right?
Yeah.
No, it's okay. The Gmail account that my Proven Secure account email is attached to is Realty and Design. Okay, REALT.
Yeah, I started typing it and it filled it in for me.
Okay, all right. Okay, cool. All right, so you're gonna create this copy for me, right?
I guess so. It's really easy. You know, you really should.
Well, I know. I'm here. I'm doing it. I mean, I have done it before, so I guess I'll just finish it. So let's see. Copy of DivvyDao. Okay. I'm going to do. Hang on. Slash investor. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay.
Okay, we got some more stuff in the chat here from Rapid Dennis. He's a pretty quick guy.
Always fast, cool.
Glad to have you aboard, Rapid Dennis. We're all pretty deep now. We've been on a long time. But,
yeah, we really have. I mean, I got to go grab a little bite to eat or something. And Roman is reaching out to me. Also, so I'm going to sign off. I mean, I feel like I've been given my marching orders here. So that's great. Thank you very much. Sometimes it's easier to be directed by somebody else than, but Jeff, I'd like to talk to you sometime about some, other outside, well, not necessarily outside the Divvy, but I mean, there's more irons in the fire than what we're talking about here, and Jim's involved too. But I left you a message this morning. I called you on the phone.
Oh, okay. I was
Did you
out
get
this
that?
morning.
Are you?
No, I literally got here and got my network set up to try to get to this meeting. That's all I've done today so far.
I understand. But I mean that phone number, your phone number, which is 207-619-1235. That's a good one, and you have your Google open all the time, so that you can get pinged and in chat, Google Chat, right?
Yeah, my phone has Hangouts on it. Yeah, my Slack is open. Well,
Okay.
Right, but Jeff has his hands in so many pots right now. Sometimes 2 days before he responds. You know, the only reason you know he's not dead is because you see him working on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and when you see me come back, I have a lot of stuff done. Which reminds me, last time we met was not in a Divvy channel. We talked about WordPress site and a multi-site WordPress site. Are we going to be having a meeting sometime this week for me to show you?
Yeah. Did Roman reach out to you at all on that?
He emailed me that day, and I've got what he wants done.
Okay. Well, yeah, so you're coordinating with him, right?
Yeah, you think I should just email him back?
Yeah, just, you know, he's ready to kind of jump in there and you know, move the ball.
Okay.
Yep.
I found the server that had space on it, and I just set it up there.
Right. Okay, well, listen, Brent, it's been great interacting with you, and yeah, I mean, great team here. I didn't really, you know, the other folks here, Daniel and Rapid Dennis. You know, I'm sure I'll get to know you guys more. I mean, I really look forward to it. So exciting stuff, and I will, you know, to be continued.
Nice meeting you, Kendall. Great input. Looks like you got a wealth of experience under your belt.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of a generalist. You know, I mean, my background is in real estate and doing projects. But I've also done other stuff too. I worked in the ski industry for many years, and in actual product development. You know, designing ski bindings and designing skis. As a matter of fact, living at the factory in Austria. You know, building prototypes, taking them out and skiing on them, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I've been around design and development and marketing too. You know, in real estate. Although I wouldn't say that was my strong suit. I've always been more. I like the designing of it and the making of it rather than the selling of it. If you know what I'm saying. But anyhow, you know, Jim got me involved in Proven Secure about 3 years ago, and you know, for me, the IT world was sort of like, you know, learning Mandarin Chinese or something, you know. Yeah. But I actually feel pretty conversant with the terminology and the concepts and so on and so forth now. So it's yeah, it's rewarding for me. I enjoy it. So yeah. All right. Well, listen, folks, I'm going to leave the meeting now. But thanks so much, and yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots of stuff in my inbox here over the next week. Right, Jim?
Yeah. Good to see you again.
Okay. See you guys.
Thanks, Kendall.
Yep.
See. So that's been 5 hours. It's probably a good time for me to exit stage left. If anybody has any loose ends. or anybody needing help. I will say this: I logged into DivvyDao. Jim, you're not you're
Yeah,
muted.
I've been talking on mute again.
Brent, I want to bring something up. You've spoken to Michael a little bit, and you seem more concerned than many of us about funding. And Kendall seems to be along that same direction. So, since you're that interested about it, I wonder if you could just like spearhead that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I mean, I'm on board now. I understand obviously that we need funding, and I understand why. And but I'm not opposed to making money. But I was only in disagreement earlier because of the philosophical nature of how funding would be handled, not really funding itself.
I hear you.
So, obviously, making money is a good goal, and it validates the project that we're doing. So, anyway, it seems to be an interest.
The total value. Go ahead. Sounds like you're still.
Yeah, well, I'm in mid-thought, but I don't really know where I'm going with it. It just seems like you're an interest, and I'm more interested in the functional. So I trust you, obviously, and any direction that you feel out, I'm supportive of is really it.
A couple things I'll say, and it's probably could probably save it for another time or on the side, but there are opportunities here. I think if there was that ability to like get some funding, it would really be nice to get paid and get paid to do some of this stuff. And I think that there's value in it for other people. So it just kind of comes down to how would you approach the marketplace? Maybe Microsoft and people like that wouldn't be the people that I would necessarily start off with, but it's a matter of developing a contact list and prospecting and figuring out who's the people you'd like to partner with that it would benefit, and those that would want to support a good cause. And I think that let's put it this way: I've seen like people down in San Francisco raise $10 million for chefs that come to people's houses to cook because their wife's busy with a party. People can do that kind of stuff. Surely I could try to spearhead a couple of fish.
Absolutely. There's no reason, and a DAO is, in my opinion, the new competitive corporate structure or anti-corporate structure. The same way that people had to use computers to be competitive, and then lately they've had to use open source computing software to remain competitive.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to have to put part of their functionality into DAOs to remain competitive.
Well, I'm running into some people, they do developing, and they're like financial services, and they do banking and insurance. And it's just a matter, can you coalesce some people, round some people up? Some of them may need the engineering that you're doing for their corporate clients or whatever. And if there is money in fintech that just wants to roll some of this stuff out, there's some big fish. It'd be nice to rub elbows and try swaying them a certain direction. I think the environment's hot for that.
Yes. Yeah. It really is.
And then there's the other thing that we were just kind of talking on the side, like with Daniel. he's got like the broadcasting, and there's Xander with some great ideas. I kind of pick up, they do like the media, you know, that's kind of what, that I mean, I'm sure they have many talents, but it's like you start looking at some of the nonprofits or organizations or whatever's out there, they want funding too. And what an opportunity to create like a cooperative advertising to try to team up for the cause. You know, it's like if we could use a moderation system, kind of use it as a dual system, like one at a time, create some work for Xander, if just using that as an example, if he's interested, or Christian or something like that, and then maybe people could microfund their cause, be it a dog charity or whatever the charity is. People could they could put it out there on their social media and try to drive something there at the same time. Since if we've set up that kind of system, maybe that nonprofit could see the value that maybe their discretionary funds would say, per their nonprofit, they would like to use this service. And think of how many nonprofits alone that are out there. That if everybody kind of did the microfunding in that regard, I think it's a little better than not the micro or the Bitcoin in the microfunding that doesn't seem to go on too much. I think there's discretionary funds, some matching funds, and I think there's some angels that are out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy, so much to do.
There is.
So, you know, Rapid Dennis seems to, you know, have a lot of good advice here. Now, that link he posted there does not work for me. But, you know, apparently there's a lot of material, and there's a lot of material out there for stuff we're doing. We should be, you know, familiar with it, and we can employ it. You know, and you know, my interest now is, you know, keeping first things first, and you know, I have sort of an opposite viewpoint. I mean, you know, if necessary, I would like to create the coins on Counterparty just to get them created and to start issuing them. So, you know, I mean, if it's going to be a long time before we can actually launch a coin on Ethereum. I'm not talking about launching a whole DAO with the token. You know, I'm talking about just issuing a standard token with multi-sig control. You know, if you know, Kendall talks about how he gets $1.50 of value out of every dollar that somebody donates, and he really has to. You really have to go through with him on that to see how he works that out. But essentially, you know, we're creating you know, you gotta play the game to win the game, and you know, we're trying to build a system in with the right incentives for us to do the right things, and we're trying to be consistent in how we use our tokens, representing a value that's created in the Divvy. And you know, we don't emphasize that it's deflationary in the sense that as we generate more tokens, we're devaluing the tokens, yes. But we're also working toward, the Henry Ford methodology or the philosophy of rewarding people more than we have to, okay, to give them a fair living or whatever. There's a lot of principles and philosophies that will come together. You're not going to have it all at day one. I have to lay out what's become really a three-layer system, where we have the community managers, the community leaders, and then the members. I think the idea of having the three managers, which they can assume the role of leader, facilitator, and secretary. That could be sort of a standard model, but everybody is free. They can staff the roles any which way they can, by consensus of their leaders, or members, by override. And we sort of apply Zipf's law in that 20% of the people are going to have 80% of the ability to make a good decision on a particular issue, sort of structure in creating a structure where we choose our managers who have who we know are going to work for us. And my last manager at AT&T, he worked for me. Basically, it was like, you do what you do, and I'll give you the support you need, which was a great situation, and the kind of situation that we want to have in our organization. So after yesterday being on the computer all day, my wife wouldn't speak to me for a couple of hours at all. And after I did some chores around the house and stuff, she started talking to me again. But
that reminds me of yesterday. In fact, she's already come out and said, "When are you going to be done?" about 3 times now. So
yeah. So I probably, so I'm going to have to spend some family time here. We're going to get on the document and try to fill out some things. And I wanted to make an agenda and action item list, which I'll probably ask for your help on. If Brent wants to be secretary and make the document, I don't know. Brent, I understand you're until you can get some real money, you're not making a big commitment to this. I think that we can work with that. I think you're providing a great value with what you're doing, and we're not going to pressure you to take a lot of assignments or anything, but when you ask us, what can I do to help?
Yeah, I just don't want to die out in the process. There's too many. I like what I'm hearing. That's why I hang around, or I wouldn't. But at the same time, I just if I create something, I want to be able to fit in that model, or else it's just I might as well just keep struggling out here in the real world. Just.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're like right now 5 people, so you expand that out, and hopefully 1 million members someday, you're going to have 200,000 people that think that same way, right? You're going to have 200,000 people that are going to be like, yeah, but how can I get some value out of this now and not wait for my 50% return?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be one thing if I was a philanthropist and I just want to do it, but I wish I was, but I'm not. You know,
Yeah. Well,
when it comes down to
the philanthropists will donate the Divvy dollars to the Divvy. Okay, so you know we double our money basically.
Yeah, but for right now, to get dollars, it's not about Divvy tokens. It's about this project. We're gonna
dump it,
Yeah.
or however, it's like anything else. You're just dumping and the value goes out, however that works. But
right.
No, and we don't know what the value is. It all depends on but it all depends on the value we create. And
it's also the value others see in it too.
right, absolutely.
And I think there's many people that partner. If you talk about your privacy, the ID and security, that could roll out to every website. Some of the other stuff, it's just packaged right out of the bar. I mean, it's ready to go. There's people can implement it in their systems. They don't need to pay somebody or administrator to do it. If we do it, there's value for across the board.
And there'll be commercial products based on it. And, people will pay for support, and that's okay. It's an opportunity for people in the Divvy. So
Absolutely.
all right, guys.
Come up for air, huh?
Let's come up for air. I guess YouTube's not going to allow me to post this video. It's too long.
Oh, right. You might have to get Christian to do it.
Yeah. Maybe Dan.
This video. Yeah, this video would be too long. Yeah, you had enough hard drive space?
I know, it's huge.
All right, guys.
Okay.
That was pretty productive if we can implement things and get that catalyst.
Yeah, this is very productive. I have the most forward momentum that I've had in a while for this. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.